the Ark of the Covenant was discovered.
مصحوبة برياح هبت معها وامتدت لتصل إلى عدة محافظات أخرى وسط تحذير.
Something is unfolding in Jerusalem quietly, unevenly, and without any natural rhythm. Water in springs and lakes is not fading away over time. It is dropping in stages, as if something unseen beneath the ground is pulling it down. As the water retreats, land is exposed too quickly, revealing shapes and marks never meant to surface. What makes this more unsettling is that similar patterns are appearing far beyond Jerusalem. Across major water systems in the United States, levels are falling in strange, irregular ways, as if the same hidden force is at work in multiple places. Above, the sky turns hostile. Dust swallows the light. The air grows heavy. Visibility fades. The sea dries up, and the deep is exposed. Nahum 1-4. If Jerusalem is where prophecy meets history, what happens when what is buried is revealed? Like the video, comment your thoughts, subscribe to the channel, and keep watching. Across regions bound to ancient history and modern civilization alike, water is behaving in ways that defy familiar natural patterns. In and around Jerusalem, water levels are not receding gradually, as they would during droughts or seasonal change. Instead, they fall in uneven stages, sudden drops, brief stillness, then another sharp decline. Witnesses describe it as unnatural, almost mechanical, as if the water is not evaporating but being pulled downward, drawn into something unseen beneath the ground. In ancient springs, pools, and surrounding basins near Jerusalem, the change happens too fast to ignore. Shorelines retreat in days, not years. Mudflats harden almost immediately. What was submerged for centuries is suddenly exposed to open air. Stones align into unfamiliar shapes. Walls, steps, and carved markings appear where there should be only sediment. These are not the slow revelations of archaeology, but abrupt unveilings as though a veil has been torn away rather than gently lifted. The most unsettling detail is not the loss of water itself, but what follows it. As these exposed areas emerge, people report a growing sense of unease, not the fear of drought or scarcity, but the fear of discovery. The ground looks wrong, patterns seem intentional. Some formations resemble foundations, others suggest corridors or outlines shaped by purpose rather than chance. Questions rise faster than answers. Why were these things hidden? And why now? This phenomenon is no longer isolated. Far beyond Jerusalem, similar patterns are appearing across the United States. From Lake Mead to major river systems, water levels are dropping in irregular phases, exposing long-buried terrain. Once again, the concern is not simply environmental stress. Scientists speak of climate cycles and consumption, yet the staged nature of the decline troubles even seasoned observers. The water does not behave as if it is merely drying up, it behaves as if it is being released or removed. Communities watching these changes describe the same feeling, that something old is surfacing alongside the land. The fear is not about what is being lost, but about what is coming into view. When water retreats this quickly, it does not just reveal soil, it reveals memory, history, silence that has been sealed for generations. The Bible speaks directly to this kind of moment. The sea dries up and the deep is exposed. Nahum 1-4. This verse does not describe a slow process. It describes exposure, revelation, the uncovering of what lies beneath when restraint is removed. Water has always been a seal of the past. It covers ruins, preserves secrets, and keeps certain chapters closed. Civilizations fall, and water moves in to hide the evidence. But what happens when that seal is broken? What happens when the deep is no longer concealed? If water once served as a boundary between what was and what is, then its sudden withdrawal beginning in Jerusalem may signal more than environmental change. It may signal that the boundary itself is failing, and that what was meant to remain hidden is now being brought to the surface, whether the world is ready or not. Across ancient sites scattered throughout Jerusalem, archaeologists are encountering a strange and troubling pattern. In areas shaped by centuries of settlement, conflict, and devotion, stone tablets remain physically intact, pillars still stand, carvings have not been shattered by conquest or erased by fire. Yet the inscriptions, the very messages meant to carry memory across generations, are blurred, softened, or stripped of meaning. The symbols are still present, but their clarity is gone, as if time did not destroy the stone, only silenced its voice. This is not erosion alone. It is not random decay. What should be readable is strangely muted, as though history itself has been deliberately lowered to a whisper. Jerusalem has long been a crossroads of civilization, a place where law, faith, and identity took enduring form. And now, within this same sacred landscape of human history, meaning fades while structure survives, leaving behind not ruins, but unanswered silence. This is not the violence of conquest or the chaos of collapse. It is something quieter, more precise. These artifacts were not destroyed. They were silenced. The stone survives, but the memory does not. What once carried laws, warnings, covenants, and records of human failure now offers only fragments, shapes, without voices. The loss is subtle, but its impact is immense. When meaning is erased without physical destruction, the danger runs deeper. Destruction is obvious. Forgetting is invisible. A broken tablet tells us something was lost. A blurred inscription convinces us nothing was ever written at all. Over time, absence replaces memory, and silence becomes normal. The past does not argue. It does not protest. It simply fades. What remains is a void in collective memory. Cultures lose their reference points. Societies move forward without understanding what came before them. Without memory, patterns are no longer recognized, and warnings are no longer heeded. Old mistakes are repeated not because humanity is incapable of learning, but because it no longer remembers what it once understood. History has always been humanity's mirror. It reflects consequences, cycles, and truths that transcend generations. When that mirror is clouded, people begin to believe their moment is unique, their errors unprecedented, their choices without precedent. Pride grows where memory once restrained it. Confidence replaces caution. The past becomes irrelevant, not because it lacks value, but because its voice has been removed. The Bible speaks directly to this danger. My people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge. Hosea 4-6. This is not a warning about ignorance alone, but about loss of understanding, loss of remembrance, loss of truth once known. Knowledge does not vanish overnight. It erodes. It is neglected. It is blurred until it no longer guides. Erased artifacts in Jerusalem remind us that history does not always disappear through fire or force. Sometimes it disappears through neglect, through indifference, through the quiet removal of meaning while the structure remains standing. And when memory fades, humanity does not start fresh, it starts blind. If the past is no longer readable, what anchors the future? If lessons are forgotten, what prevents repetition? And if memory itself is slipping away, what will mankind have left to learn from history? Stay with us, because what comes next may explain why remembering has suddenly become so difficult. Without warning, the sky darkens in the middle of the day. The sun does not set, yet the light vanishes, swallowed by a thick, moving wall of dust. What begins as a distant haze quickly becomes a suffocating veil, pressing down on cities, highways, and open land alike. Daylight turns unfamiliar. Shadows disappear. Direction loses meaning. The air itself changes character. It grows heavy, abrasive, hostile. Every breath feels strained, as if the atmosphere is no longer meant to sustain life, but to resist it. Fine particles invade lungs, eyes, and skin. Vision collapses to a few meters at best. The horizon vanishes. What was once open space becomes a closed chamber of drifting sand. Traffic grinds to a halt. Cars sit frozen on highways because drivers can no longer see the road ahead or even the vehicle beside them. Accidents multiply not through speed, but through blindness. Sirens echo, but offer little help when visibility is nearly zero. Movement becomes dangerous. Stillness feels just as threatening. People describe a rising panic not from what they see, but from what they cannot. The fear is not simply of being lost, but of being trapped inside an environment that no longer supports them. When the air becomes unbreathable, escape is no longer a matter of distance. There is nowhere to run when the threat is all around you. These events are not confined to one region or one moment. Similar dust-filled skies have appeared repeatedly in arid regions of the United States, rolling across towns and highways with little warning. Each time, the pattern is the same: sudden darkness, collapsing visibility, and a growing realization that modern systems offer limited protection against the air itself turning hostile. What makes sandshakes especially unsettling is their totality. Floods can be avoided by higher ground. Fires can be escaped by distance. Storms can be outrun or sheltered from. But air is constant. It surrounds every structure, penetrates every gap, enters every breath. When the atmosphere becomes the danger, there is no clear refuge. The greatest fear voiced by those who experience these events is simple and primal. Breathing is no longer safe. Survival becomes measured in minutes, not miles. Masks clog. Filters fail. Lungs burn. The very act that sustains life becomes a risk. Scripture captures this atmosphere with unsettling precision. A dark and gloomy day, a day of clouds and gloom. Joel 2:2. This is not merely a description of weather, but of a world momentarily stripped of clarity and comfort. A world where familiar protections collapse and creation itself feels withdrawn. When the sky darkens without warning and the air turns against man, control is exposed as an illusion. Technology falters. Planning dissolves. Confidence gives way to vulnerability. In those moments, humanity is reminded how dependent it truly is on forces it cannot command. When even the air becomes a threat, when sight, breath, and direction are taken away at once, where is there left to hide? After one defining moment in ancient history, the Ark of the Covenant vanished from the public record. There is no clear account of it being stolen, burned, or broken. No invading army claimed it as a trophy. No conqueror displayed it as proof of victory. Instead, it simply disappeared, leaving behind silence where certainty should have been. Ancient texts hint that this absence was not accidental. The Ark was not lost in chaos, nor erased by force. It may have been deliberately removed from sight, concealed before destruction could reach it. Some writings suggest priests acted with urgency, hiding it away as danger closed in, understanding that its presence could not be allowed to fall into the wrong hands. Jewish tradition deepens this mystery. It holds that the Ark was hidden intentionally, preserved for a predetermined time known only to God, not buried as a relic of the past, but sealed as something unfinished, waiting. This belief transforms the Ark from a lost artifact into a suspended reality, neither gone nor present, but withheld. That long silence has become one of the most unsettling gaps in sacred history. The Ark was not a symbol alone. It was believed to represent direct divine presence. It moved with power. It judged, protected, and revealed. Its disappearance created a void, not just of an object, but of certainty. Worship continued. History advanced. Yet something central was missing. What troubles scholars and believers alike is not simply where the Ark is, but what its return would mean. The Ark was never passive. When it appeared in history, events followed, often dramatic, often terrifying. Walls fell, armies fled, judgment was swift. Mercy and consequence moved side by side. If such an object were to reappear, it would not do so quietly. The Bible itself introduces a strange shift in perspective. Then people will no longer speak of the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord. Jeremiah 3:16. This verse does not explain where the Ark goes. Instead, it suggests a future where the Ark is no longer central to how people understand God's presence. Not destroyed, but no longer spoken of, no longer fitting expectations. This raises a deeper question. If the Ark does reappear, will it even be recognized for what it truly is? Or has humanity's understanding changed so drastically that the reality would be misunderstood, dismissed, or feared? Perhaps the silence surrounding the Ark is not meant to preserve mystery, but to prepare for a moment that does not align with tradition. When something powerful disappears without explanation, it does not lose its weight, it gains it. Centuries of absence amplify meaning. The Ark's silence has become louder than its recorded presence. If the Ark of the Covenant is no longer mentioned, is it because it will not appear in the way people expect, or because its return will change everything they thought they understood? If this mystery intrigues you, like the video, leave your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and continue watching. For centuries, the East Gate of Jerusalem has remained closed, sealed not by the urgency of war or the aftermath of destruction, but by something far more unsettling: prophecy. Unlike other gates that fell, were rebuilt, or faded into ruin, this one was deliberately locked and left untouched. Its closure was not meant to defend a city from armies, but to guard against a future many believed could not be controlled. The East Gate is unique in both position and meaning. It directly faces the area long regarded as the point of arrival, the threshold tied to ancient expectation. No other gate carries that weight. No other opening is so deeply connected to anticipation rather than access. That is precisely why it was sealed, not randomly, not symbolically, but intentionally. Historical accounts suggest the act of sealing the gate was driven by fear rather than strategy. Leaders understood the prophecy tied to it. They knew what the gate represented and what its opening might signify. By closing it, they believed they could interrupt fulfillment itself, as if stone and mortar could delay destiny. It was an attempt to place human authority above what was written. Yet time has treated the gate strangely. It did not crumble. It was not erased. It was not repurposed. It simply stood still. Century after century, generation after generation, the gate remained sealed, unchanged, unmoving, like a silent warning carved into the city's eastern wall. Empires rose and fell around it. Faiths shifted, borders changed, the gate endured. What makes the East Gate unsettling is not the idea of it opening, but the implication of who would pass through if it did. A door is only locked when there is a belief, however faint, that it could one day be unlocked. No one seals an empty threat. No one guards against a myth they consider powerless. The very act of sealing acknowledges possibility. The Bible addresses this gate directly. The glory of the Lord will enter through the East Gate. Ezekiel 43:4. This verse does not speak in metaphor or ambiguity. It names direction. It names entry. It implies movement toward a moment that cannot be prevented, only delayed in human minds. The sealed gate stands as a paradox. It is both an act of defiance and an admission of belief. It suggests that those who closed it feared not what they doubted, but what they understood too well. The stone was meant to restrain meaning, to freeze prophecy in place. Instead, it preserved it. Today, the gate remains sealed, not forgotten, not ignored. It continues to draw attention precisely because it has not changed. In a city defined by constant transformation, stillness speaks loudly. The East Gate does not announce anything, but it does not deny anything either. If people attempt to lock a door against prophecy, Is it because they believe it is powerless, or because they fear it is real, waiting, and capable of being opened? As erosion strips away layers of soil and sediment, strange stone shapes are emerging from the ground: statues, reliefs, and carvings that blend human and animal forms into unsettling figures. These are not newly discovered ruins hidden deep underground. They are revealed suddenly, exposed by retreating land and vanishing water. Their appearance feels abrupt, almost intrusive, as if something long buried has been forced back into view. What immediately sets these carvings apart is their tone. They do not inspire reverence or devotion. There are no signs of altars, offerings, or ceremonial spaces surrounding them. No evidence of temples, no traces of ritual use. Instead, they evoke discomfort. Their proportions feel wrong. Their expressions are distorted. The fusion of human and animal traits appears intentional, but not celebratory. These figures do not invite worship, they repel it. Archaeologists often assume ancient carvings served religious purposes, but these stone forms resist that explanation. They stand alone, isolated, sometimes positioned in exposed or desolate areas rather than sacred centers. The absence of ritual context raises a troubling possibility. These were not objects of devotion, but records of something feared, not idols to honor, but images meant to remember or to warn. The Bible offers a striking parallel. They turned the glory of God into the image of a creature. Romans 1:23. This verse speaks not only of idolatry, but of distortion of truth, reshaped into something lesser, something unnatural. The carvings echo that idea. They do not reflect divine beauty or harmony. They reflect confusion, corruption, and loss of order, a breaking of boundaries that should not have been crossed. What if these figures were never meant to be admired? What if they were carved as permanent reminders of encounters humanity could not fully explain? Stone lasts when memory fades. Words can be altered. Stories can be reshaped, but stone endures. When something is too dangerous, too disturbing, or too complex to pass down through writing alone, carving it into rock ensures it cannot be easily erased. Our ancestors may have chosen stone because what they witnessed defied language. Writing describes ideas, carving preserves experiences. These figures may represent events, beings, or moments when humanity felt profoundly alienated, confronted with something that challenged their understanding of creation and their place within it. The erosion that reveals these shapes today raises another question. Why now? Why are these warnings resurfacing at the same time land is shifting, water is retreating, and history itself seems to be surfacing? Perhaps they were not meant to be visible forever, only at a time when humanity was once again nearing the same boundaries. If these carvings were warnings rather than idols, then their reappearance is not accidental. It is a reminder carved in stone, resurfacing when conditions allow, speaking without words. What did our ancestors see that made them choose to engrave their message into rock instead of trusting it to memory? If this makes you think, like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and thank you for watching and staying with us.